Hello, welcome back to my channel, Logically Literate. In this video, we're going to talk about the hardware setup and network setup for the Raspberry Pi to Arduino communication project. This diagram here shows one possible configuration that can be done. However, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will be replacing the Raspberry Pi communicating over Wi-Fi to the router with my PC plugged in via Ethernet. Wi-Fi versus Ethernet doesn't really matter in terms of a Raspberry Pi or a PC. It is slightly different for the Arduino since you have to write lower level code to interface with that device. The easiest way to set up this configuration would be to have static addresses on each device such that you could hardcode the address of the other device in the device that is making contact to the other device. For instance, the address could be set static in the Raspberry Pi such that when it connects to the router always knows to use a specific IP address for that device. Similarly, the IP address can be set statically in the Arduino, which is how we will set it up for this configuration. That way, we know how to communicate directly to the Arduino. For this setup, I'll be setting a static address both in the router for the MAC address we'll be using for our Arduino Leonard, as well as in the Arduino Leonard, such that they match. For my PC, I will not be setting a static IP address because I can easily use a ipconfig command to show me what my IP address is and then put that into Arduino code. Although, like I said before, it would make things a lot easier if you set both to a static IP address such that you don't have to change them as your IP address changes on the network. However, since this being my PC will be the only device connected to that router, I won't have to worry about a different IP address being given to my PC. Since the IP address given to the Arduino Leonard is already static and I am the only other device, I being my PC, on that router, the router will always give me the .2 device. I won't be showing how to set a static IP address in a router for a given MAC address, but just know that the MAC address we type into our Arduino code will be the MAC address you'll need to set up your static IP address in your router. The way it works is when the Arduino first communicates to the router, it sends its MAC address. The router then looks at the MAC address, looks up in its table of MAC addresses to static IP addresses, finds that it has a static IP address for that MAC address, and then responds back to the Arduino with that static IP address. This is all handled by the Ethernet library that we'll be using in Arduino. If you set a static IP address on your PC/Raspberry Pi, it would have a similar approach. The Raspberry Pi and/or PC would ask the router for an IP address, giving it its MAC address, and the router would always give it the same static IP address. I prefer setting my static IP addresses inside of the router, that way I have one place that they're all defined, because once you start having many small devices on your network, it's hard to keep track of which device has which IP address. So for the hardware setup, that's all we're going to cover today. Keep your eye out for the next video where we'll cover the C programming used to program the Arduino. And then the following video will cover the Python code used to program the PC/Raspberry Pi in this scenario. If these videos have been helpful to you, please make sure to like and subscribe, and keep a heads up for more videos to come. Thanks for watching.